Good evening, I'm Data Munkenold and welcome to Data Focus. Tonight, we're diving deep into the global electric vehicle revolution. The numbers are in, and they paint a picture of a world in rapid transition, moving faster than almost anyone predicted. We're going to break down the key trends, the major players, and what the future holds for how we drive. So, let's start with the big picture. In 2024, the world collectively purchased over 17.8 million electric vehicles. That's a staggering 25% increase from the previous year. To put that into perspective, nearly 1 in every 5 new vehicles sold across the entire globe was electric. That's a huge milestone. But the story doesn't stop there. The momentum has only accelerated into 2025. In just the first quarter of this year, sales surged past 4 million EVs worldwide, marking a 35% jump compared to the same period in 2024. Based on this trajectory, current projections suggest we'll see over 20 million EVs sold by the end of this year. If that happens, electric vehicles will officially account for 1 in every 4 new cars sold on the planet. This isn't just a trend anymore. It's a fundamental shift in the automotive landscape. Now, who is leading this charge? Let's break it down by country, because the story varies dramatically depending on where you look. First up, the undisputed world leader, Norway. This Scandinavian nation continues to set records that seem almost unbelievable. In 2024, a mind-blowing 88.9% of all new cars sold in Norway were fully electric, and by early 2025, that number climbed even higher, soaring past 96%. Norway is now on a clear path to becoming the first nation in history to achieve 100% zero-emission new car sales. This isn't a distant goal, it's happening right now. To truly grasp the scale of this transformation, consider this. Electric vehicles now outnumber gasoline-powered cars on Norwegian roads. 29% of all vehicles are electric, while only 23% run on petrol. This is a historic tipping point, a glimpse into the future of transportation that Norway is living today. While Norway leads in market share, China remains the heavyweight champion in terms of sheer volume. The Chinese EV market is a powerhouse, growing by an incredible 40% in 2024. In December of that year alone, China sold over 1.3 million electric vehicles, a single-month record that showcases the massive scale of its market. Today, more than half of all new cars sold in China are electric. But China isn't just buying EVs, it's building them. The country now produces a staggering 76% of the world's electric vehicles and accounts for over 60% of all global EV sales. Essentially, the road to an electric future runs directly through China. Its manufacturing might and consumer demand are the primary engines driving the global transition. So, we've talked about the countries, but what about the companies building these cars? When it comes to manufacturers, one name has risen to dominate the conversation: BYD. The Chinese automaker had a phenomenal year, selling 4.27 million vehicles in 2024, which represents a 41% increase from the previous year. This explosive growth has given BYD a commanding 34% share of China's massive EV market. For years, Tesla has been the poster child of the EV revolution, and it remains the world's largest manufacturer of pure battery electric vehicles, or BEVs, selling 1.78 million units. However, BYD is closing the gap at an astonishing pace, and is widely expected to overtake Tesla in total BEV sales by the end of 2025. Rounding out the global top 5 are Wuling in third place, another testament to China's strength, followed by Germany's BMW in fourth, and the innovative Chinese brand Li Auto in fifth. This leaderboard shows a clear shift in the automotive power balance, with Chinese brands asserting their dominance on the world stage. Now, let's turn our attention to Europe, where the data reveals a more complex and mixed picture. Overall, the continent saw a slight 3% decline in EV sales in 2024. This dip was largely driven by Germany, Europe's largest auto market. The German government made the decision to cut EV subsidies, which had an immediate impact. The EV market share in Germany dropped from 18% down to just 13.5%, pulling the continent's average down with it. However, this doesn't tell the whole story. Other European nations bucked this trend and posted impressive growth. The United Kingdom, for example, saw its EV sales rise by nearly 20%, pushing the market share to a solid 30%. Meanwhile, countries with strong pro-EV policies continued to surge ahead. Denmark hit an incredible 63% electric market share, and the Netherlands reached a very respectable 35%. Looking ahead, the forecast for Europe is optimistic. Stricter new emission standards are set to take effect across the EU in 2025. Analysts predict these regulations will force automakers to push more electric models, leading to a projected 27% increase in European EV sales this year. And what about the United States? The US market is still playing catch-up compared to leaders in Europe and Asia. The national EV market share sits at just over 7%. While that number may seem low, it's important to note the market is still growing. In 2024, the US saw a 9% increase in EV sales, reaching 1.4 million units for the year. This growth was significantly helped by federal tax credits offered under the Inflation Reduction Act, which made EVs more affordable for many American consumers. However, the future policy landscape in the U.S. remains uncertain. Potential changes to these federal incentives are on the horizon, and any adjustments could have a major impact on the pace of EV adoption in the coming years. The U.S. market is at a critical juncture, and policy decisions made now will determine how quickly it can close the gap with the rest of the world. So, what does all this data mean for the future? Where is this all heading? The long-term projections are ambitious but grounded in the trends we're seeing today. Analysts are now forecasting that by the year 2030, over 40 million electric vehicles will be sold annually. That would represent more than 40% of the entire global car market. And just 5 years after that, by 2035, that number could exceed 50%, meaning the majority of new cars sold worldwide would be electric. A key driver behind this incredible growth is the falling cost of the most expensive component in an EV, the battery. In 2024 alone, battery costs dropped by a massive 20%, reaching an average of around $115 per kilowatt. This is a critical threshold. As prices continue to fall, EVs are becoming more accessible, moving beyond early adopters and appealing to mainstream consumers across the globe. The economic case for going electric is getting stronger every single day. The data is clear and undeniable. The electric transition is no longer a distant future possibility. It's here, it's happening now, and it's accelerating. That's your global data report for tonight. For more deep dives and data-driven stories just like this one, make sure you follow us at Data Focus Official. I'm Data Mancanald. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.